So hi, my name is Libby Johnson and I'm here in Santa Rosa County with Mickey Diamond, one of our very best producers and a fantastic extension cooperator. And we're standing here in one of his many plots that he does, and this happens to be one of our variety trials that we're doing. So Mickey, I wanted him to give us a little bit of background as to how he planted this, why does he always do a variety trial, and give us some details on this particular field.
Okay, these varieties are very important to us. First, we started, well, back last year with a cover crop. We used Florida 401 rye. We planted a cover crop, got it cover crop up about, it was about this high, I reckon, this year. We come in with a roller crimper, roll it down. From there, we strip till it and then plant into that strip. Now, you can see the signs behind us of the different seed varieties that we planted. Now, so when it was about probably 6 inches tall, we put our first nitrogen on it, and then we come back with just a little bit more at lay-by. Fertilize was variable rate on the potash and on the phosphorus, and basically it didn't have to have any phosphorus this year. But the variable rate on the potash, it just puts it just where it needs it. Don't waste any of that away. Okay, then we come in, we planted this about May the 20th. From there, cotton was up in about 7 days. Now, it didn't take but a couple weeks and you could see the difference in all the varieties. Some grows faster than others, and some has a little different leaf and even a different color. So you could see the difference in the variety. So we start watching it right then, see how it comes up, which comes up the fastest. Cotton's very slow about coming up, doesn't like any kind of weather on it. So we get to compare all the different varieties. Now, as you can see in the background, there's about 20, 22 varieties here. There's quite a few. And this will tell us what does the best from the time it comes up to the time we pick it. Even which cotton picks the best out of the burr, which is the cleanest, the best grade, which that we get the most money for. It tells us everything. We've sprayed this cotton a couple times. We put some plant growth regulator on it. It's been sprayed for plant bugs and stink bugs. We've also put some Praxor out for target spot on the leaves. So we're trying to keep the plot healthy to make sure it gets all it needs to go to the end of the year. It won't be long, probably about September the 10th is about where you can count the last bloom. And from then on, anything that blooms probably won't make it. So we're not far from being at the end of the year as of production practices, just a few more days. But the varieties are so helpful as to be able to see what we need to look at in the future and what we don't need to plant anymore. That's one of the biggest things that we plant them for.
So Mickey, could you tell us anything about, like, does this all get compiled into one variety or one harvest, or is it ginned separately? Anything on that?
Each variety is it's picked, it's weighed, and it's sampled, and it's kept completely separate. And all the information will come back to the extension and be where any grower has full availability to all the information.
So we'll be able to put that kind of information out for you guys, hopefully in the early part of 2021. The great 2021, that's going to be a wonderful year for everybody, right?
That's right.
Right.
This year is too.
That's right. So thank you for joining us, and we're going to go to another speaker now. Right. So we're here with Dr. Bob Kemerait, our UGA plant pathologist, but a former UF Gator. And we're always lucky to have him come and join us for programs here in the Panhandle. We're really happy that he could come and talk to us a little bit about some of the diseases that cotton experiences, because he has so much background being from Georgia with a lot of problems. And now he's here in the land of Eden, and he gets to share that we still have problems that we could do things with. Can you share some things, Dr. Kim Wright?
Very grateful to be invited to come and speak to you all and to be able to participate. I participated in the live version of this for a number of years, and I regret that we're not here live, but I'm also excited that my colleagues at University of Florida IFAS Extension found a way to do this virtually. Libby gave me too much credit when she said that my expertise on cotton diseases, yes, I've seen a lot of cotton diseases, but the truth of the matter is one of the most important cotton diseases we talk about, and that's target spot. If the target spot, which develops in very high yielding potential cotton, develops deep in the canopy, if it doesn't matter here, it probably doesn't matter in Georgia where I am. So we really have to look at it here. And we've learned a lot from working with groups like, or folks like Dr. Mike Mulvaney, and also with the extension here. And I take back with me the cotton aspect would just simply be the respect that growers here have for target spot and other diseases. I was just speaking with the grower here a few minutes ago who grows excellent cotton in this area, and he asked me if I'd seen any target spot. I have not seen any target spot since I've been in this area over the past 24 hours, but I know this is some of the hardest hit. When I talked to him, he said, yes, but we've already put out fungicides to protect against this. And what that shows is the respect and the appreciation that growers in this area have for target spot and other diseases. Why so much target spot? You've got the environment, you've got the conditions, you've got the good growth. Target spot is a disease which is going to develop lower in the canopy, and it's going to develop when you have extended leaf wetness periods. Now, it's very hot out here. My videographer knows it's hot out here. We know that it's hot and humid, but I can tell you that it is about 12:30 p.m. right now. I just went with Dr. Mulvaney, walked out in the cotton crop, and my shorts are damp from there's still moisture in that canopy. Good growth cotton like that is going to lead to target spot. Should a grower spray for target spot in Santa Rosa or Escambia County, Florida, based upon this year? That question remains for you to get out there and look in the crop. A well-timed fungicide, if you go in there somewhere between the first and sixth week of bloom, you may make up to 250, 300 pounds of lint. If you fail to make that application, you may lose that lint. So it behooves you. It makes good sense to go out there and look. So target spot's number one. The second one that's exploding in Georgia right now, and certainly my counterparts here in Florida, no strangers to it, is areolate mildew. Areolate mildew in about the past 5 years has not stayed home in coastal Georgia. It's come across all the way to Mississippi. We're expecting rainfall in the upcoming week. We know that the crop condition, we know that everything is favorable. And the fact that we're seeing it in Georgia means it won't be long before you see it here. The areolate mildew, which looks a lot like powdery mildew, and the target spot. Why would we use a fungicide? A lot of times I'm told by growers, Bob, the only thing you like more than fungicides is expensive fungicides. You love to spend our money. The reason for that is I respect, as did our previous speaker and one of the cotton growers here, respect what diseases like target spot and areolate mildew can do. My recommendation is to recognize the potential, to get out and scout the fields, and recognize that if you do not catch areolate mildew, if you do not catch target spot early, there may be no catching it at all. It may explode so quickly. So what I'd like to wrap up with is thank you again for having me out here. Hopefully next year we could be here in person. I think if you grow cotton in Escambia County or Santa Rosa County, Georgia, you owe it to yourself to recognize that both target spot and areolate mildew can be a significant problem for you. You have the opportunity to use well-timed fungicide applications if they're warranted and judicious to make more cotton. There's one more disease I'll mention briefly, and you're likely to see it here more likely than you are to see it in Georgia, though we see plenty of it there. That's a disease called Stoneville leaf spot. Stoneville leaf spot is the underlying cause is a nutrient deficiency, a potassium deficiency. If it's hot and dry, no matter what your soil fertility program is, if you don't have the moisture take up in the plant, you're going to get those autumn colors, the reddening, the bronzing, the defoliation. You're going to be covered with spots on the canopy. You can't fight that with a fungicide. You can't fight that. You have got to manage that, hopefully with your fertility management and hopefully with well-timed rains or irrigation. In the 24 hours I've been here driving around, riding with my IFAS colleagues, I've seen a number of fields that have been infested with most likely reniform nematode, but root knot nematode as well. You see it in the poor growth. You see it in the tiger striping on the leaves. You see it in the poor bulb development. there's nothing that can be done about it. Some of the presentations you will have seen have talked about new reniform root knot nematode resistant varieties. Those could be outstanding for your program. What I would like to leave you with is this. If you have a root knot nematode or reniform nematode problem in your cotton fields in 2020, if you go back in with cotton in 2021, those problems are going to be even worse. If you're only a year out of cotton, those problems could be worse as well. There's time to fight the nematodes, and that good time is before you cover your furrow. Once you cover the furrow, you've decided, am I going to plant a resistant variety or not? And we have newer and better resistant varieties. Are we going to use a nematicide or not? Are we going to use Telone? Probably not. Are we going to use AgLogic? Are we going to use Velum Total? Are we going to use a seed treatment? Because once you cover that furrow, there's nothing else you can do other than put some Vitate out, which is a secondary treatment, not a primary treatment. So what I would say to every cotton grower in this part of the state, Escambia County, Santa Rosa County, is to recognize what the potential for nematodes is, not nematode susceptible variety, a reniform susceptible variety, and the growers did nothing, and I saw this yesterday, and I can understand, but they did nothing to protect the crop. When they close that furrow, they have no hope of making maximum yields at the end of the season. The nematodes will take that. So if there's nothing else to learn from nematodes this year, what you need to learn is for next year. What can we do to protect the crop? And I can tell you, reniform nematodes to a primary extent, and some, the reniform nematode or the root knot nematodes are going to be problems here. So with that, I'll conclude. Thanks for having me out here. If there's anything we can do, we'd sure like to work more closely with you all, and just recognize opportunity is there, the tools are there. It's up to you as a grower to decide based upon the research and recommendations how you plan to deploy them to make the greatest profit in your crop. Thank you very much.
Hi, we're out here with Drew Scrimsher from Agra AFC, and I wanted to give thanks to him because this variety trial is related to the work that he and Agra AFC to put on a variety trial every year on farm throughout Santa Rosa County. So can you just tell me a little bit about why y'all decided to do an on-farm demonstration and how you do it, and maybe about your team?
Yeah, we have an agronomic service group, and our number one goal is to provide information, directly to the farmer and his challenges. So do that through series of on-farm trials, just trying to get local information and look at how the varieties perform on their farm. So we have several agronomists that work together in different areas and different regions, but we kind of all come together and definitely work with the grower and extension as well. Just try to cooperate all we can.
And so like we said, we will be able to provide this information, the yields, and all the information from the ginning after all this is done, probably in early 2021.
Yep. First variety we have is Armor. It is what's called Cropland, but moving forward, it will be under a brand of Armor, so the brand name will change. The numbers will stay the same, so the four numbers of 9608 obviously here will stay the same, but the brand name will change. My name is Drew Scrimsher. I'm actually an agronomist with Agra AFC. Armor is one of our proprietary brands through Winfield, and this is Will Howard Windland. He's also an agronomist with Agra AFC, and we will be representing the Armor variety today. Get to look at these varieties, a lot of the different company varieties all year long, and get to evaluate them and compare them to different things. But with Armor, 9608 is a early to early mid-maturing variety. It does travel very well throughout a full season environment, but it is an early to mid. It would be more centered around or fit a more productive soil type or more productive farm. So it does not handle the stress as well. It has done well under some stressful conditions, but it is more centered around a more productive environment. It is a Boguard III, which meaning it has the third gene for extra bollworm protection, and it is an Extend Flex, which is full dicamba and liberty tolerance. If needed any support about the varieties or anything we can do, my contact information is, our phone number is area code 256-431-8116.
And mine is 334-239-1798.
You can contact us anytime, like I said, for variety information or anything that we offer agronomic services through Agra AFC. The variety that we're in front of now is Armor 3885. It has been formerly known as Cropland 3885. moving forward, all the cropland brand names will change to Armor. And so you'll see this one, you know, with the Armor name in front of it, but the number will stay, the 4-digit number will stay the same, the 3885. 3885 has been a kind of a really staple variety for cropland, and for us, it's done very well in a lot of the trials the last several years, and has a really good name to fit a lot of the southern or deep south geography and soil types. It's done very well here on this on-farm trial the last several years as well, here with Mr. Mickey Diamond, and in Santa Rosa County, top performer in several of those trials we've done. It is a full season variety, and it fits the full season, you know, markets very well. It's a full or later maturing variety, but its best fit is on a tough acre or you know, a sandier, less productive type field where you would struggle to get stalk or growth early. It comes out once you get established. It grows very well, and has been a really good variety to fit most tough situations. It is a Boguard II, so we're seeing things, you know, kind of come into play with some of the bollworm resistance things going on, but it has still, from what we've seen, performed very well in the deep south, and but it is just a Boguard II. It is an extend flex, so it does give us give you full tolerance to dicamba and Liberty, so a extend variety. Anything you can add to it?
That's it.
Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Vin Hicks. I'm technical agronomist with Bayer Crop Science, and we represent Delta Pine cottonseed along with decab corn seed and Asgrow soybeans. And so we're here on the Mickey Diamond farm today to talk a little bit about our varieties.
And I'm Rod Higdon. I'm a field sales rep in this area, southwest Alabama and the panhandle of Florida. And I'll let Vin talk about our varieties.
Okay, before we get started on the varieties, I guess I want to talk a little bit about a couple of new technologies that we've got coming into the Delta Pine cotton lineup. One of them is something that we call Thrive On Technology. And Thrive On Technology is, we used to call it the Lygus and Thrips trait. Now probably what we're going to call it is the Thrips and Lygus trait. And hopefully, depending on what we see from the EPA and other regulatory agencies, this product will probably be in the field, we hope, as early as 2021, but probably more like 2022 or 2023. Has really good activity against all thrip species in cotton. Has good activity against all the plant bug species. It's not going to be a product like tobacco budworm control you saw with Boguard, but what we hope it'll do is reduce the number of applications in the field, give growers a little bit better chance. So if you're in an area that doesn't have a lot of plant bug material or plant bug pressure, it may be a solution for your problem. If you happen to be in an area that you're spraying 6, 7, 8 times, maybe you're going to start spraying 4 or 5 times. So stay tuned on that technology. Start out and talk a little bit about the cotton varieties. First one I'll talk about is Delta Pine 1646. It's a Boguard II extend flex variety. It's tolerant to glufosinate, tolerant to dicamba, and tolerant to Roundup. Again, it does have the second generation, Boguard technology in it. Some of them we'll talk about have a third generation in it. 1646 still is the #1 planted cotton variety across the Cotton Belt. I think it's on about 28 or 29% of the acres across the Cotton Belt. It does dominate this market here in southwest Alabama and northwest Florida as well. So what can I say about 1646? The first thing I'd say is yield. Second thing I'd say is fiber quality. Outstanding fiber quality, outstanding yield. It's a fairly easy product to manage. I like to get started on it with a good PGR program about pin head, match head, square, and then I kind of like to see what the weather does moving forward. But again, a very easy product to manage. You can probably make this variety about as short as you want to, or about as long as you want to, kind of depending on how you manage the product moving forward. So Again, an outstanding variety that has performed very, very well. The only real negative that we see on 1646 is it does have a tendency to lean in the field a little bit. So when it gets a pretty heavy bowl load on it, kind of leans. Typically stands back up as the leaves come off and things start drying down. But again, an outstanding product for us. All right, here we are again at another Delta Pine variety. One of the things I wanted to talk about before we started to talk a little bit about 2055 is another new trait that we're moving into the Delta Pine lineup, and that is our next offering as far as a nematode-resistant variety. Unlike the varieties in the past that have been targeting root knot, this one actually targets reniform as well as root knot. So we've got it in our NPE program this year, which means if everything works out, it'll be a commercial variety next year. So again, stay tuned for that new nematode variety. Really good to talk about Delta Pine 2055. It's one of the 4 varieties that we had introduced into the class of 2020. And what I'll say about 2055 is it is a selection out of the 1646 germplasm. So it's got a few differences. Probably can tell by the number, it's a little bit longer. So we've got 1646, this one's 2055. I'm not 100% sure it's going to totally match that number, but it is definitely a little bit fuller maturity variety than 1646. The other thing we talked about with 1646 sometimes is that the standability is a little bit of an issue late season. Really not going to be much of an issue with this variety. If I put 1646 as a 5 or a 6 out of 10, I'd probably put this at an 8 or a 9 from standability standpoint. So a vast improvement there. The other thing is this is a Boguard III variety. So we've gone from 2nd generation Boguard technology to 3rd generation Boguard technology. Again, been a pretty light worm year across most of the southern U.S., but you know, if it becomes a problem, you do have that addition of the VIP trait in this variety. The other thing I'll point out with 2055 is it actually has significantly better strength than 1646. So 1646 is one of those varieties that pretty well had everything you'd want from a premium fiber standpoint, but we fall down below that 30 number sometimes on strength. 2055 actually gets above that 30 number on a consistent basis, has the same great length, the same great uniformity, good micronair, so a really good fiber package, and also shows the same yield potential, if not better than 1646. So out of the class of 2055 last year, we introduced those 4 varieties that fit in the lower southeast. Every single one of those beat all of our internal and external checks last year by at least 100 pounds, where we compared everything from A to Z. So really proud of this variety from what it brings to a strength standpoint. And then also that standability, again, has that 3rd generation Boguard trait in it, so an outstanding variety. Again, if you like 1646, I think you'll love 2055. All right, another variety we've got in the lineup is Delta Pine 1840. Again, it's a Boguard III XtendFlex variety. Again, it's got that latest insect protection technology in it, as well as the latest herbicide tolerances that we've talked about a little earlier in the other varieties. What I'll say about 1840 is 1840 was one of the last varieties that really got a full dose coming through our Arizona breeding program. And what that did for this variety, in my mind, is it gave it an exceptional level of heat tolerance. And so last year was probably the first big year we had with 1840. It came out obviously 2 years ago, but supply was fairly limited. We got a really good look at it last year, and if you remember last year, we had a lot of really late season heat, a lot of dry weather. 1840 really shined for us. Where I want to see 1840 go as far as placement of that variety is into a situation that we used to plant Delta Pine 1538 in. You got a piece of ground that's just tough and it's hard to get a stalk on it, hard to get enough abundant plant size in there. It's a really good place for 1840. 1840's got outstanding fiber quality. It is probably not on the level that you see with 1646, but it's very, very close. A vast improvement over what we saw with Delta Pine 1538. Again, a very good yielder, good fiber quality. As far as managing this variety, I consider it to be a pretty growthy plant. It does do pretty well responding to PGR. But just like all the full season Delta Pine varieties, I like to start somewhere along that pinhead match head square with, you know, and I think about an ounce per node. So if you're at a 6 node or 8 node, then that'd be 6 to 8 ounces. And then kind of follow the plant as you go through and just get an idea of what you need to do from that point forward. So again, Delta Pine 1840, outstanding choice for those tougher acres where you're trying to get a little bit of a stalk and you're looking for some pretty good heat tolerance. Okay, well the last variety I want to talk about is Delta Pine 2038 B3 XF. So before I start talking about 2038, I want to talk briefly about the way that we develop cotton varieties. And so I think one of the most important programs that we have at Delta Pine is our NPE grower program. NPE stands for New Product Evaluator. So we've got about 250 cotton growers across the U.S. that actually take varieties that come out of our testing program, put them on their farms in about 20, 25 acre blocks, grow those cotton varieties the way that they would normally grow cotton. And then we take that information and data, plus the observations from those growers, plus observations from all of our internal folks, and that's where we come up with a cotton variety that goes commercial. That program's been extremely successful. Over the period, let's see, we've been doing this about 12 years. I can think of one cotton variety that was kind of a one and done situation, so it's been a very successful program. One of the ones that came out of that program last year, again, was 2038. And if I wanted to say something about 2038, the one thing I would say absolutely, if your overall objective is yield, and that is the most important thing to you, this is a cotton variety for you. Now, it's got really good length, or I'm sorry, it's got really good strength. It's got really good mic. It's got good uniformity. The length is not 1646 length. So we've taken a little bit of a step back from a length standpoint compared to 1646, but the yield last year, this thing averaged about 200 pounds more than 1646 across all of our trials. So you more than make up for that length premium that you might be getting with 1646 with the yield of 2038. Now it's not going to be a going back to a class of 11 or the class of 15 as far as fiber quality, really good fiber quality. But it's just not 1646 right now. But what it is yield. The other thing I'll say about it is it has the ability to stand up when 1646 wants to lay down on you. So we got a lot of growers that they love 1646, get down toward the end of the year, starts leaning, they really don't like it that much. Usually stands back up, but sometimes it doesn't. This variety is going to stand up. It's got a very columnar growth habit at the top of the plant, got pretty good stalk strength, again, an outstanding yielder. And I would manage this one, again, the same way you're going to manage most of your late season Delta Pine varieties. I'd put some picks on it. I'd stand on it to start with. I'd kind of look how things go from that point forward. So again, an outstanding yielder, very manageable from a PGR standpoint. But don't be disappointed when you don't get those 38s and 39 staples. You know, if you're getting 34s, 35s, that's kind of where this variety is.
I'm Justin Kaiser. I'm with Nutrient Ag Solutions. I want to thank Mickey Diamond for allowing us to be in this plot. We brought two varieties in here today. One is, the first one we'll start with is 3799. It's the Boguard III Flex Cotton. It's a new variety to us. It's been a very high yielding, we consider it a racehorse variety. We like to see it on some of the better ground, but what we have seen out of this variety, it does very well in sandier soils. It has the ability to have some height. Now it's been pitched hard here, so it's been held down, but we expect it to be, and generally in most trials, it's about 6 inches taller than the other varieties. So this, now we're with a 3615, which is also a Boguard III variety. This is also a high yielding variety. It's a shorter variety. This variety acts a lot like 1646. This variety cuts out around 24 nodes compared to the 3799, which runs up to about 28 nodes. This variety here responds really well to picks. We like to see it in some heavier dirt, but so far it's looked very well in some sand as well. This variety here, as you can see, hasn't missed many fruiting positions as it comes up. So we'll see how it goes when we come into the picker going here in a few weeks to see if it goes to yield as well as it appears. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Adam Shannon. I am the regional manager for Americott Next Gen for Alabama and the Florida Panhandle. The first variety I want to talk to you about is Next Gen 4098. It's a Boguard III Extend Flex variety. This is our first year for commercial release with this variety. We're very excited about it. It's a very unique plant. You might can see a little further out, it's a very short statured plant and wide canopied. You know, it has a kind of a distinctive color. It's a very deep green. You can kind of pick it out, you know, going down the road pretty easily once you get used to it. But this one's something we've got a lot of hopes for. It's got excellent fiber quality. The yield is good. Turnout is good. It's just one that, like I said, it's new. We're thinking maybe placing on maybe some tougher acres where it's, you know, more prone to get dry. This variety has an exceptional root system that we think is really helping scavenge some of these nutrients to hold on this dry weather. And I'm going to show you just a little bit of what I'm talking about. This, you can see kind of the lateral roots on this plant. This is 4098. And they really seem to get out better and pull nutrients. This is our 4936. And just for an example, you know, it has more fibrous roots, and we're thinking that's really helping hang on these drier conditions a little bit better. But like I said, it's the first year commercial release. We've got a lot placed around, and I'm really excited to see what it brings to the table for us. Our second variety, this is 4936. It is also a Boguard III Extend Flex variety. It's more of a true mid to maybe a little bit later mid in terms of maturity. This will be our third year, really our second good year of release for it due to limited seed supply. This is one that is working everywhere. Throughout Alabama, Panhandle of Florida, Georgia, all the way out across the Mississippi River into Texas. It has a huge fit. This variety, I don't know if you can tell, it has kind of a distinctive color too. It's going to be a little bit paler, more pale shade of green. There's nothing wrong there. It's just it's a characteristic of the plant. Yield is exceptional. Turnout is good. Fiber quality is excellent. This is one, like I said, that it just has a little bit of unique look. The leaves tend to curl up a little bit, which just gives it a little bit of differentiation between some of the other varieties. But this is one that's been a big yielder for us. There's a lot of seed in the ground this year for it, and we're very excited about it. We think it will probably take the place. It could be one of our #1 sellers for next year. So with that said, we're just going to continue to move forward with it and place it where we can. Our third and final variety is Next Gen 5711. It's also a Boguard III Extend Flex variety. This is our #1 selling variety throughout the southeast along the coast. This is a full, kind of early to mid full variety. It has bacterial blight resistance, excellent storm tolerance, and is a very aggressively growing plant. A lot of times we try to position this variety on maybe some sandier type dirt where it really has opportunity to grow and get a stalk. Early PGR management with this variety is extremely important. A pinhead square application of PGR is very important to utilizing all the yield out of this variety. If nematodes is an issue in your field, this variety is very aggressive growing and has a tendency to kind of outrun some of that pressure early on when the nematodes are feeding. The aggressive growth just lets it kind of blow through. But very important is the PGR management at an early time, bacterial blight resistant, and has excellent storm tolerance. Like I said, this variety is a #1 selling in southern regions and along the coastlines.
I'm Russell Nudie, Cotton Development Specialist for Phytogen, and I'm here today at the Santa Rosa on-farm trial at Mickey Diamond's farm. So thanks to Mickey for putting this on and putting up with the planting and the harvest. One thing I think that's important for everybody to realize is when you put a trial in like this, it's a time commitment from the grower up front, getting all these varieties put in and then keeping up with what is where. But also on the back end, when everybody's in a big hurry to try to get through at harvest, is to take the extra time to keep it separate and gather that valuable information as far as yield and grades. The big positive side of that is everybody in the area gets to see how these varieties yield and grade in their own county and in their own situation in a given year. And everybody knows what kind of rainfall we've had this year versus other years, et cetera. So what we're looking for is consistency with these varieties and performance that you can count on so you can make a good variety selection decision to start the year. So with Phytogen, we entered 4 varieties in this trial this year. We've got 2 experimentals and 2 of our current commercial varieties. The first one I'm standing in front of here is Phytogen 3D43, which I'm excited to tell you will be launched as a new reniform resistant cotton variety. It's not only resistant to reniform nematodes, but also to root knot nematodes and bacterial blight. So this gives you the full package of native traits for Phytogen breeding traits and gives you a lot of protection on the front end when you make that variety decision. The other thing is all 4 of these varieties are W3FE, which is Wide Strike 3 Roundup Flex Enlist. And that Enlist package gives you the opportunity to be very flexible with your weed control program. So you can go over the top of this cotton with the Enlist herbicide system. You can add glufosinate or glyphosate whenever you need to, as well as other residuals that are on the label to mix with Enlist. So gives you a very robust system there. So one thing I want to point out about our variety signs to make it easy for everybody is we've put resistance shields on the sign. So this gives you, if you see that, you know you're resistant to bacterial blight, BB, root knot nematodes, and in this case also reniform nematodes. This variety, 3D43, we're hoping will be launched sometime this winter as a mid-maturing variety for 2021. The next variety I'm standing in front of is Phytogen 5C45. This is an experimental variety we're looking forward to hopefully launch in 2021. This is a mid to full maturing variety, and it has shields for both bacterial blight and root knot nematode resistance. What we're excited about with this variety is its high-end yield potential under well-managed systems. It does very well dry land, but it really separates itself on that high end when you see yield potential above 3 bales. This variety is Phytogen 500. It was released in 2020. We're excited to have this because it adds to our mid to full season variety platform. And this variety has an aggressive early growth habit. So if you've got light ground where it's hard to grow a stalk, Phytogen 500 will do that for you. The other classic thing about this variety is it's quick growing, but it also cuts out like a mid to full variety should do. This one is relatively easy to manage from an end of season standpoint. A couple things that set it apart. One is that it's a smooth leaf variety, so if you have concerns about whiteflies or if you have concerns about gin trash, this variety is smooth leaf and should help with some of those things. The other thing I wanted to point out is this variety is also bacterial blight and root knot nematode resistant. All right, the last variety I'm going to introduce to you today is Phytogen 400. This one has bacterial blight and root knot nematode resistance. It's a mid-maturing variety, and as you can see behind me, this is a very dark green, very healthy looking variety. Looks like a tabletop. One of the things that I'm hearing consistently from folks growing it this year or helping manage it is it's an extremely manageable variety. So if you've got heavy soils where big vigorous stalk is a problem, 400 is one that'll be easier to take care of with growth regulators and won't be something that's such a challenge to try to keep down. It does a very good job at fruiting and turning that plant into cotton. It doesn't waste a whole lot of resources on the plant in general. So one of the things that has been frustrating working in the lower southeast is we grow a great crop and a lot of times we have a lot of boll rot. 400 is a more open canopy and should help us avoid some of that boll rot. So one thing I want to point out is in this trial last year at Mickey's Place, 400 was the #1 variety, and we hope it can do that again this year. One thing to consider when you talk about planting a nematode-resistant variety versus one that's susceptible is what's going on in the soil with nematode populations. One of the things that we've been able to prove with these root knot nematode-resistant varieties is that they act like a rotation crop. They are truly resistant, so there's very little interaction between the nematodes and the crop. So the end of year result is that we see up to a 90% reduction in nematode populations for example, this variety next to another variety that may be susceptible, if we were to sample side by side, you could see a big difference in nematode populations that would be going into the next crop. So really helps you from a population management standpoint.
My name's Mark Freeman. I'm agronomist for Stoneville Cotton for Georgia and Southern Alabama and the Florida Panhandle. And today I'm going to talk about two of our new kind of focus varieties for 2020. We released these varieties this year. The first one is Stoneville 5610 B3XF. Now 2019 was kind of our first entry into the dicamba game. Our varieties lacked that dicamba capabilities before 5600, which we came out with last year, and then everything else that we're kind of coming forward from here on out is going to have that dicamba trait, as well as Liberty and Roundup. But 5610, it's a full season variety, really a true full season variety for us, one of our most full varieties that we have in our lineup. B3XF, the B3 is Boguard III. So we have 3 gene worm protection with that VIP gene, as well as the XF, which is Extend Flex. So we get tolerance to Roundup, tolerance to Liberty, and tolerance to dicamba, which was a big deal for Stoneville because we kind of didn't have those capabilities up until last year. But 5610 went out on a lot of acres in Southern Alabama and Florida Panhandle, as well as in Georgia. And it really fits the kind of the dryland acre, or the full season acre. Maybe that's a field that's really sandy. The full season maturity of that variety will allow it to, say you get a few weeks of no rain, and it's kind of looking like it's going to cut out, and then you get some rain, kind of has some horsepower to come back and put on some additional nodes and additional bulbs after that. So it's a real good, it's tolerant to stress, and it'll put a stalk on in some sandier soils. It also has that great Stoneville early season vigor with great seed quality. That's kind of what Stoneville's known for. Standability is there. Very little replants with any of our varieties in 2020. So we're proud of that fact. But 5610 B3XF is going to be a focus for us going forward. Hopefully 2021 we sell a lot of this variety, because it really fits our market.
I'm Jerry Spivey. I'm the local Stoneville rep for South Alabama and the Panhandle of Florida, and I'm here with Mark Freeman, our agronomist from South Georgia and South Alabama, and he's going to tell you a little bit one of our new varieties, Stoneville 4990 B3X. Yeah.
B3XF. Thanks, Jerry. So like he said, this is Stoneville 4990 B3XF. This is the other variety that we released in 2020. It's a mid-full variety, so it doesn't have that real full season maturity package that 5610 does, but this was our yield champion from 2019. So we have an internal testing program where we test all our varieties and then let other people such as Libby and other extension and consultants kind of look at it the year prior as well to get us a good feel for how the varieties are going to perform, not only yield wise, but what's their disease package and things of that sort. But 4990 last year yielded phenomenal. It was the top yielder in our testing program for South Alabama and South Georgia and North Florida. Again, it's a mid-full. It's a little bit more of a compact plant type. It's not going to be real hard to control with picks. It's going to be an easier to manage variety as far as that goes. And it also has the B3XF, so it's got the 3 gene worm protection with the VIP gene, as well as the Extend Flex trait to allow it to be sprayed with Roundup, Liberty, and dicamba. So 4990, it's a great package for us, and we really kind of focus this variety really more on the irrigated acre, but it also did well last year on the dry land. So it's not a niche variety where it only does well in certain places. But that's 4990, as well as 5610 was the last one. And if you need to reach me, again, I'm Mark Freeman, agronomist for all of Georgia, South Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle. My number is 229-886-8974. This is Jerry Spivey, the local seed rep for South Alabama and the Florida Panhandle.
My number is 334-313-8036 or jerry.spivey@basf.com.